friends, good evening. Good Saturday evening. We're live. We're back live again with our World Cup coverage on a beautiful Saturday evening. Well, beautiful depends if your teams are winning, if you're having a good time. If you're a Knicks fan, by the way, you must really be celebrating. Congratulations to the Knicks. So we're live again on different platforms, Deportes Nation, Soccer Tejas, and thanks to all of you that follow us. We're little by little growing the audience as we get into day number 3 of this FIFA World Cup 2026. It's already day number 3, and I'm already a little dizzy from the many matches that are going on. And by the way, today a full day of matches, 4 of them total. By the way, the last one is yet to start. So we weren't going to start after 1 a.m. in the morning. We'll see what's going on in Vancouver. A lot to talk about today, my friends. Many of us are still waking up and still enjoying the U.S. victory in Game 1 over Paraguay. So we'll definitely be talking about that. But before I go on any further, let's bring in the one and only, the big guns, if you will. I welcome in my co-host. We'll call you co-host, Don Victor Araiza. Victor, first of all, good evening. It's late. How are you doing? And welcome in. How's your Saturday going, Victor?
Going great. 4 World Cup games, and it's only going to continue like this for the next couple of weeks. So there's a lot to be excited about. This is a summer to remember, a summer for the ages in North America. And I think we're just trying to soak every little bit of it.
Give you a little bit of it, Victor. We talked a little bit about the magic of coming together because of the World Cup. Tonight I had some competing interests because of the NBA Finals and the Knicks in San Antonio defeating the Spurs. You know, I feel bad for Spurs fans, but also happy for Knicks fans. Are you a Knicks fan at all, Victor?
I'm not, but I know Knicks fans have been waiting for a long, long time. So, and obviously it was a good year for San Antonio to kind of revitalize and get back into the finals. But I think this is a type of, I mean, we're not going to steer too much off, but I think obviously for the NBA, it was good that the Knicks won. It reinvigorates some interest in the league that I think they have lost to other sports, kind of like a rising sport in soccer in the United States. And listen, New York City was probably a fun place to be today with Brazil and Morocco. And then obviously the Knicks right now in the celebration. So, yeah, New York City is buzzing.
It's buzzing without a doubt. Speaking of buzzing, Victor, why don't we start with exactly the buzz that many of us are still feeling from the USA victory? I think maybe that's a place to start this evening. It was a nearly perfect performance by the U.S. men's national team yesterday at SoFi Stadium. I still call it SoFi in Los Angeles. But the media coverage, I think, is so interesting. Today I was watching one of the news networks, I'll mention them, Fox News, and genuinely the hosts in the show I was watching were generally admitting, look, I don't know anything about soccer, right? But whenever the USA wins, I jump on the bandwagon. I'm supportive. I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm sensing a lot of that. Could that put even more pressure now, Victor? Because we know this. This is just game 1. There's still work to be done. And, of course, we'll be monitoring what's going on in Vancouver between Turkey and Australia that are part of the group. But this is a great beginning, but it's not over yet, right? People are already talking about we can go all the way. I'm not that optimistic, personally.
No, but it was an important victory. Look, I think the hardest part is done in a sense.
Yeah.
Because I think, you talk about pressure. I don't know I mean, there's pressure to win, obviously, because of it's a World Cup and they're going to want to, seal the top of the group and, they don't want to overlook Australia, right? But I think certainly it was the reason why it was such an important win is because many of us don't realize it because we watch it every time. We're used to seeing the U.S. national team. But for me, there was a lot of casuals, like there is in every World Cup. People that might have been seeing the U.S. for the very first time, if not for the first time in 4 years.
Sure.
And so that's why I think last night's game, obviously being hosted, being the host country, with this type of roster, players that have been talented, playing in some of the world's biggest leagues. Yesterday was not only just an opportunity, but almost an obligation to leave a great first impression. And I mean, they knocked it out of the park in every sense of that phrase. I mean, um, 2 goals in stoppage time in either half, especially that Gio Reyna goal. Tremendous technique at the end to just kind of put a bow on the victory. Christian Pulisic having such a great night as well with the the assists.
Yeah.
Again, and everybody's calling it rightly so the best performance in the World Cup for the United States. I believe it's the first time they've scored 4 goals or at least that many since the 1930 edition, which
I remember well.
Which you were there for, I think.
Thank you, Victor, for that.
So there's a lot of things here that, I mean, again, I think for many reasons, that's why it was so special. That's why it was so important. And we talked about, look, the pressure to me is the pressure to live up to it, which I think Mexico lacked some of that. And because of the nervousness of the Azteca, that can play against you.
Sure.
I think we saw it with Canada also as a host in their own country. They were able to salvage a tie, but still they didn't, I don't think, fully lived up to the moment, and the U.S. did. Because again, I think, it's, we can say it easy, and Pochettino again had all his doubters, and why is he playing these lineups? What is he doing? Why is he dipping into MLS and so on and so forth? And yesterday he looked like a genius. He looked like he did exactly what he was hired to do. But again, to me, it's the biggest impact is, look, nobody's going to dig as much into tactics. Some of us will, but I think in the overall general public, they just care about the U.S. win.
Agreed.
And we've talked about it all the time, especially here with the Dynamo. We talk about it's not just winning; it's the style of play in with which you win. That taste you leave in people's mouth. And the U.S., like I said, knocked it out of the park. They were offensive. And they left very energetic.
Not in an offensive way, but they were playing free. They wanted to. Yeah. They were playing. That's, I wish, the way most teams should play. Now we have to give it the caveat. And I interrupted you, Victor. I apologize. It was Paraguay, meaning there's still some work to be done here to be considered among the elite in international football.
But they didn't let them do a lot.
There.
And this was supposed to be one of the better defensive teams, at least under their own head coach in the region. And granted, granted they're not playing also in the South American qualifiers, right? But I think certainly, again, the other side of it is I don't know if Paraguay lived up. I don't think Paraguay lived up to it, and a lot of that was because of the way the U.S. suffocated them. And again, there was a sense of urgency with the United States. Previous World Cups, the United States, they take it, and it's cliche, but it's also, you kind of mandate it by what you say, the game by game, right? Why not try to manage it from the beginning? Why not try to maybe rest some players in the third game? Why not try to, keep your stars healthy to go deep in the tournament? I mean, these are the things you wish you've had, right? The top teams are able to kind of manage that. And we never really seen the U.S. do that because they were never able to put it on the field with results, right? It's always they suffer to get a tie or they just squeak by.
Sure.
Not that they didn't have talent, just it wasn't a dominant win like this one. And again, because of the potential of these players, because of the way these goals were scored. Again, Balogun, we didn't even talk enough about him yesterday. That second goal was tremendous, the way the individual play. That's on top of the through ball that he got from Malik Tillman. So again, the Gio Reyna goal, as special as it was, all the passes that led up to it.
Sure, the buildup.
I mean, this is a different United States team than what we've had in the past. And again, that's why it's so impressive. And again, maybe we don't talk about it enough, but we always, again, talk about what's the mainstream opinion. And you just mentioned it, a news outlet, the lasting impression that it leaves. And I think if we go across the board, everybody feels the same way, and it's contagious, and it's going to move on to the next game. And I think if they win, and it's going to only carry on, and why not think they could do something special here?
Why not? And certainly it's a solid first step. So that was yesterday, friends, and we're still talking about the USA victory over Paraguay. But let's talk about today. Victor, we've already had several matches. The last match of the evening, by the way, the first day of 4 matches that started early on in what was the first match, Victor? I forget even the location. Where did we start this
Qatar,
one?
was San Francisco, out the Santa Clara.
Santa Clara, then moved to New York, New Jersey, then moved to Boston, and now back up to the second game in Canada at BC Place with
BC Place in
right.
Vancouver.
Australia and Turkey, which are yet to kick off. We're monitoring here. So clearly, again, now we're getting into also the timing. Victor, tomorrow's hours are a little bit different, and we'll talk about the importance of tomorrow. But there will be more days where we have 4 matches going on. What did you see, Victor? And we'll talk about the standings then after day number 1 or the round 1 for Group C. Many of us kind of anticipated this. Scotland with the 3 points defeating Haiti 1-0. It was a close match. I was happy for both nations. But let's talk about the standings. This might be surprising. Some people may say Morocco tying Brazil. And we'll talk about that match in a little bit, Victor. But Morocco, to me, has such potential, such young players, and they held their own. To me, the better team versus Brazil today.
Yeah, look, I think, again, for us in Houston, we were especially looking at that Brazil-Morocco match because the winner could potentially, or it was expected that one of those two would win the group.
Yeah.
We may be seeing Scotland in Houston if they're able to keep this up. We'll see. We'll see. It's still early. I think this is a tough group. It's tough for Haiti, who returned to the World Cup in 52 years, and obviously an emotional moment.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about the Haitian population. I think you could see it in the stands up there in Boston. But they also got the first one out of the way, and we'll see that they don't got to go too far. I think their next game is down in Philadelphia, so it's still there in the East region. It's not a long trip. So we'll see if they can make it a competitive group here. Or just get into the race here, knowing that a third place finish could potentially move you on to the next round. But I think again, we're starting to see games that are a little close, and we're starting to see also, that different factor that it's not just obviously it's not just what's on paper in soccer, but the World Cup, it's so special. It's the emotion that goes in it. It's the self-pressure. It's what players feel that it's their dream to be on this stage. Some players are up for it. Others, might be starstruck. That wasn't, I don't think, the case with Scotland, even though they just edged by Haiti. And again, Brazil didn't have it easy against Morocco either. Neither did Switzerland, with Qatar, in stoppage time, stealing a point.
Yeah,
so
literally.
Yeah, but this is what the World Cup is about. It's like for the American fan, like the NCAA tournament, there's going to be surprises. There's going to be Cinderella teams. And this is the reason why we all watch.
Victor, let's focus in on the Brazil and Morocco tie because to me was such an attractive match. It was a match that had a little bit of everything. First of all, at the venue that will hold the final. And this should be New Jersey, New York, to be honest with you. But what do I know? They're calling it the New York, New Jersey. Number 6 for Morocco, Victor, Ayoub Boadi. 18 years of age, Victor. He was floating in that midfield, moving the ball around. He no fear, no sense of, hey, this is Brazil. You talked about how this World Cup may weigh on people, the emotion of it. I think that player in many ways, and to many people who don't know the story of Morocco, how that team has come together, literally a former French youth national player, like many other players that have been recruited and put together. And that's the nature of modern football. But Victor, Morocco to me impressed me.
They've also invested a lot of money in the sport.
They have.
And
as a federation,
setup,
you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, as a federation. So, taking away the whole controversy with the African Cup of Nations. But again, they put a lot of money into their youth setup. So obviously they were the surprise of the previous tournament in Qatar, right? Getting to the last 4. I mean, this is a team that
it's a top 10 ranked team in the world.
Yeah,
coming
was
into
expected.
The cup. Yeah.
And I think the fact that they scored against, got the lead, and Brazil had to be the one that comes back and tie the game. Yeah, maybe it speaks more to also to where Brazil is, but we'll see how this group turns out. We could be seeing Morocco come to Houston for winning the group. I mean, there's still a lot of soccer to be played. But certainly, I think a lot of people, Morocco is no longer a surprise. Now they're certainly one of the contenders.
Well, look, I'll get ahead of myself a little bit looking at the Group C, Victor. I think for IT, in what I saw today, they might have faced the weakest opponent in game one because they have Morocco and Brazil. So if IT is going to do something, I think they need to start very quickly because the next two matches are going to be difficult. Nothing against Scotland, but also they have two more matches against Morocco and Brazil. I think the best two teams, personally, not counting the points right now, I know the Scottish fans are going to yell at me, are Morocco and Brazil that could come out. Now, Scotland gets a result, Victor. They get a tie in one of the next two matches with 4 points. They can almost be guaranteed going through to the next round. So that's huge on the math. And we know the following too, Victor. Sometimes we have a team perform in an amazing first game, and then that promise disappears for many reasons. You talk about the emotion. You talk about being up for maybe the first game. You always want to start in any tournament with a victory. That certainly helps you, especially in a group of four. But how do you see this playing out? Before we move on to some of the other matches of the day, do you agree with me? Morocco, Brazil, right now, I think pick up two more victories, honestly, in this group, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, I think it's shaping up to be an even group. And we might see goal difference decide who goes first, who goes second, and that determines your path in the bracket. Again, I think you want to go in as the first place team just to have an easier path. I mean, I say easier in quotes, but a more accessible path to the championship. This could get complicated. If Haiti makes a game against Brazil, or Morocco and Scotland, I mean, this team, could get complicated. I think we saw it today with how even these games were. And again, the fans in the stands have a lot to play in it as well, adding to the pressure, to the color. Again, this is what the World Cup is all about, and these are the types of games we expected. And for as much as the prices are high, I don't see a lot of empty seats. I know that Qatar-Switzerland game probably had the most empty seats out of these games, but these are great crowds. And again, this is a ticket in demand anywhere you go.
Let's talk about that. That was the first match of the day, Victor, on the West Coast and in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. What did you think of the performance by both teams? And like you said, a tight game, an important first step for both teams. To me, in this group, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Well, I think I would imagine we all expected Switzerland to sort of get out of that group, or at least out of this game a little bit easier. Probably win it by a couple goals. Let's remember, Qatar, they didn't qualify. Well, they qualified as a host for the last World Cup.
Correct. Yep.
They didn't get out of their group. We didn't know in that sense how competitive they would continue to be. And again, I think Switzerland may messed up by not putting more goals on the board. You could say maybe that was Qatar's doing, and the fact that they were able to get a goal in stoppage time. And I mean, again, the euphoria that comes with that result and the gut punch that it's for a team like Switzerland. And more importantly, because of what we talked about yesterday with Canada not taking advantage, or Bosnia, if you want to look at it that way, this is a wide open group. Anybody could win this one, and we'll see. Certainly for the co-host, for one of the host nations, Canada, they got a chance now they're still really alive and being able to win this group.
They are. So friends, what are your thoughts on any of this? We want you to chime in. I think it's building up certainly to be an extremely interesting fourth day. And Victor, we'll jump right to, I think, what many of us are waiting for, the first match in the history of Houston, the first World Cup match in the history of Houston. When last World Cup took place in '94, hosted by the United States, there were matches up at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. So Texas has hosted. Noon tomorrow, the first match of several, of four also. We'll get into that schedule here shortly. But what a contrast, Victor, in general terms, of Curaçao, who are novices, their first time participating in a World Cup, and the four-time world champions, Germany, of course, previously West Germany. We know the history of the Bundesliga and all of the German football for many years. You couldn't find more of a contrast, but an interesting match.
On paper.
Exactly, on paper. The biggest blowout so far has been United States and Paraguay. Other matches have been relatively close, meaning accessible. Where do you think this is headed tomorrow? Germany picking up a victory and scoring 3 or 4 goals? Or is there a possibility, Victor, for Curaçao to maybe pull off the upset?
Look, I think Germany wins it. I think that's expected.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be. Listen, they're certainly masters of efficiency. They could put up 7 goals if they set their minds to it. But I don't know if Curaçao is going to be that much of a pushover, right? The narrative with them is that there's the smallest nation in the World Cup. Let's remember there's one player that was born in Curaçao on this team. Everybody else is nationalized. Player from the Netherlands because it is a Dutch island in the Caribbean. But this is again a project that, as a Caribbean nation, has been going in the right direction. They got the former Netherlands coach Dick Advocaat, so they're going to be, I think, as well prepared as they can. I think they'll have a good game. Again, the only thing that's hard to predict is how are they going to perform under the bright lights, right? Under the emotions of knowing that it's the first World Cup ever. Germany certainly are veterans in that regard. Obviously, they got the pedigree of the shirt that they have, the 4-time World Cup champions.
Yeah.
And again, I think maybe this is a game where it's a close game to begin, and then maybe Germany pulls away in the second half and wins it. But I would expect unless they're just absolutely, overwhelmed by the stage, I think Curaçao can make this interesting and open some eyes tomorrow as to what this country has been doing with the sport.
Victor, I think the days of international football literally being night and day in comparison, where you see the Germanys, the Brazils, the Spains of the world taking on, I'm going to say this, third world countries, and I don't say that as a slight, meaning that they don't have the history and they're getting players from their local league and local amateur league playing. I think those days are gone. We saw this in Morocco, the way this national team federation has been built over time, and it's been built with really finding players that are already playing in Europe and in other places. And that's why you're not seeing this discrepancy as we've previously seen, even from CONCACAF teams. Victor, I still remember, and someone's going to help me, maybe 82, Spain and El Salvador. One of their performances was embarrassing. They did not belong on the field. And of course, my Salvadoran friends are going to tell me that I'm embarrassing. And you may be right about all of that. But do you see a match in this World Cup that could be so lopsided that justifies, hey, why are you even here? I don't sense that happening. Now,
maybe in the next round, because I think there'll be some first place teams against some third place teams, and I think that could be, and then you got teams that, the first place teams will be in, really good rhythm. You would think that's why they won the group.
Sure.
So I think that's where we could see more lopsided. I may be wrong. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I don't think we're in the, again, these are professional players for Curaçao, players that maybe wouldn't make the Dutch team, but they're making, this is their path to a World Cup. They ply their trade in some of the, professional divisions in the Netherlands or elsewhere in Europe, even if it's second division or third division. This isn't a bunch of mechanics and teachers and school bus drivers, right? Like we would be in the past, and it's such a great story. And again, we got to remember the impact of social media as well, right? We had a comment here on YouTube. I believe this is it says that strong opinions, but I think this is our friend Dynamo Cooligan.
Oh, thank you for following, by the way. Good evening.
Freddie has arrived in Houston. Hope he gets to meet Lawrence and Ali. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to this. Freddie is a account. It's a German fan that's exploring the United States. He's got a Cristiano Ronaldo picture as his avatar, but he's been making his way from, I think, the Germany base camp out there at Wake Forest and coming through Tennessee and Louisiana. Just arrived in Houston, I believe, about an hour ago. So
and ready for tomorrow, right?
And making, and kind of making an impact. JJ Watt has invited him out to eat. There's, there's been a lot of these. Again, people getting behind what tourists are exploring from the United States. And again, that's sort of the impact. People maybe follow Germany a little more because of that. Obviously, Lamine Yamal going to a Walmart in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That has kind of begun, been a separate thing. And let's remember Tim Payne, right? There was an Argentine influencer that said let's see who's the least followed player in the World Cup, and let's kind of make him famous. And I think he reached probably up to 5 million followers, if not more.
That's awesome.
But where I'm getting with this is Tim Payne and part of New Zealand, and that could be something that maybe lifts the whole New Zealand team and makes the team that is from a small nation sort of grow, right? We'll see what Curacao brings tomorrow. I still think Germany is a tall task, but I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive than what people expect. We'll see. And obviously for us, the first match in Houston, a historic moment.
Exactly, Victor. Great transition. I mean, we talk about how long many of us have been waiting for this moment for Houston to host. Houston, a diverse international city, a soccer city. I live it every day. I'm blessed to be around the sport at the youth level, at the professional level with the Dynamo. Victor, we met by coverage of the sport, and Houston is ready. There are so many aspects of our city that have been preparing. And look, you can be critical of everything, of the weather. You can be critical of the traffic. You can be critical of the pricing of tickets. But you know what? And maybe I'm more aware of this, friends, because it is a sport that I love and is part of my life, of my daily life. But Victor, I've never seen people coming together, even if it's the casual fan to the hardcore fan, and being brought together by something. Even local media, even mainstream media that normally don't cover the sport are covering the sport. Politicians, regardless of whether it's blue or red, are coming together and making the effort. Yes, are there going to be questions about the cost involved, about the city being or not being prepared, about whether or not you can walk in the heat in Houston in the summer? All of that to me is secondary, because I really feel for the first time the sport is bringing us together, Victor. And that to me is so exciting. Influencers, old school media, even people, Victor, who traditionally don't even talk about soccer are peeking into it, are watching it. And like you mentioned with the USA victory, I think tomorrow will put a stamp on Houston that we are a soccer city. And that can only be a good thing for all of us. A lot of people are waking up to the fact, Victor, that you know what? Oops, we haven't been covering soccer enough. Where did all these people come from? Look at this fan fest. I had no idea. Well, because unfortunately, many leaders in media and in other organizations, they don't know about the sport, or they've denied it and then treated it, I'm going to say this, as a foreigner sport. Well, you know what? We're a foreigner city if you want to approach it that way. I don't mean to be offensive toward anyone, but times have changed, Victor. Soccer is here. Soccer is in Houston. It's here to stay.
No, they could be blind to the impact globally that soccer has, and now they can't avoid it because again, it's right here in our backyard.
Yeah,
and I think we always knew it was going to be an eye opener, and we want to see what the impact is going to be. But again, this is why I get so people can call me a hater. This is why I get
You're a hater, Victor.
Passionate about because this is the sport. Like you just said, this is the impact that soccer has. This is the sport. And this is what the Dynamo could be in a more, and the Dash too, in a more local sense.
Yeah.
Again, you can't avoid it because the impact of the World Cup is so global and it's so popular. But simply, like you just mentioned, this is what soccer is. This is what it brings. It overlaps culture. It overlaps patriotism. It overlaps many different things. It's not just kicking a ball into the net. It brings all these other emotions with it, and it could be the great unifier, like you said. In many ways, it is, and well, because it's a sport that everybody in the world has in common, and everybody in the world grows up with.
And tomorrow, Victor, it all gets started in Houston. I know that you'll be there. We'll be covering, obviously, tomorrow's match and the first of 7, by the way, that'll be taking place at Houston Stadium. We know it as NRG. I think it's going to change to Reliant, right, Victor? Once
After the World Cup.
After the World Cup. So anyway, we know the stadium and also the Texans and the rodeo and the politics of it all working out. So yes, there'll be questions. Yes, I'm sure someone is going to pull out the contract that was signed with FIFA and how that contract may be completely one-sided. That's an opinion. I've seen this kind of reporting already in Dallas, Victor. And if you look on paper to what cities have signed up for, it is one-sided, but you have to look at the benefit of that. So there'll be a balance there. Victor, I wanted to mention a quick mention of FanFest, which is also going on adjacent to Shell Energy Stadium. And today, and I want to get my information right, there's been a youth tournament that's been held now throughout the city since earlier this year, Victor, and the finals of this tournament are starting to be played, I should say.
Yeah, one of them was today,
yeah.
right?
Yes, sir. Road to the Cup, and I want to make sure I get this right because we already have a winner at least. In the U11 girls category, the final was held today, and I want to make sure I get this right, between Upper 90 Futsal Academy and HTX City 15 group. I'll say that. And the final was 3-1 for the Upper 90 Futsal Academy U90 FA 15G team. I always want to make sure I give them right. But it's so exciting, Victor, that the Aramco Stadium at the Fan Festival can host this. I know it's a little bit warm, but what an experience for these kids, Victor, to be out there and to be part of the World Cup, road to the World Cup in this way. And there's more finals to come, but I think they will treasure and remember that final, whether they won or lost the rest of their lives.
Yeah, look, that's the power of the World Cup. Everybody's going to have a memory of this World Cup, whether they're watching it on TV, whether they're out at the Fan Fest. It's my understanding, I think a few local teams got to even play on the NRG field. Kind of as there was a bit of a test run there a few days back. I don't know if I was supposed to reveal that, but I think, again, the impact of all these things. Again, every business you see around town is now interested in soccer. Everybody's trying to get in on this, at least for this month. And again, it shows you that they recognize, because again, it's unquestionable now, the impact of the sport, the interest in the sport. And again, I think for us, the question is, what's it going to leave afterwards, right?
Exactly.
Is it just going to be like the circus that leaves town? Or is it going to leave a lasting impact where, mainstream media is going to cover it more, fans are going to transition to their local teams? There'll be time for that. But certainly right now we're in the thick of it. And it's exciting tomorrow, again, to see it as a crowning moment because we knew Houston has been a soccer city for a long, long time. This is finally the final stamp that kind of just seals it. This is the last thing that it was missing.
I agree. Victor, we're rolling some video now of the free kicks program. You talked about the legacy of the World Cup. Yes, tomorrow is game number 1, and the fans will be there. The attention of the world will be focused on Houston and the Germany-Curaçao match. But we were part also, Victor, of the Impact Houston 26 initiative, the free kicks program. What's going to be left after these 7 games are held in Houston? And I'm very excited that the seeds have been planted. and there's a commitment there from the community, not only clubs, not only the political representatives, but I think as more people see the importance of the sport in our community, I think more sponsors and businesses will get involved. So I'm definitely excited, Victor, about that piece of it, which to me is huge. So even is that Bun B? I want to make sure I get this right, Victor.
No, that's
sorry.
Tell you the truth.
Thank you. I'm sorry. He's the one with the hamburgers, right, Victor?
No, that's Bumby.
Okay, I'm confused. Someone's gonna send me a nasty note
Bun B,
about
by
that.
the way, was over down in Mexico for the inaugural match. So was Hector Herrera.
Ooh, that's right.
Again, among the people that made it down for that matchup.
So we'll be telling these stories throughout our coverage and the importance of the sport in our city. But let's focus on tomorrow. We've already focused and talked about Deutschland and Curaçao at Houston Stadium, noon start. But some other very interesting matches, Victor. Netherlands, Japan, to me, a very intriguing matchup. But what catches your eye beyond the Houston matchup for tomorrow?
Yeah, extending it up north, still in Texas, even though some people like to call it Oklahoma. But the Netherlands against Japan, that's going to be a competitive bout. And obviously the Netherlands will come to Houston after this encounter. Japan, maybe we'll get to see them down the road. We'll see. A historic match as well. First soccer match, first World Cup soccer match in Arlington, Texas. So obviously Dallas hosted in 1994. This is called Dallas Stadium, but just taking it. But no, for the state of Texas, it's great. Again, back-to-back matches. I wish these were spread out. I wish the Netherlands-Japan match was maybe the last match of the day. That way some fans would be able to, I get it with the ticket prices so expensive, but I mean, if hopefully you could even get one match in Houston and then, I don't know, fly southwest up to Dallas or something. Or take the Alex Parra private jet.
Sure.
And at least get to take two in a day.
We'll get two up there. Victor, let me go over some things because it's interesting. So tomorrow, the Houston match against Curaçao in Houston Stadium, noon. Then up at Arlington, 3 p.m. Then Philadelphia for Ivory Coast and Ecuador at 6 p.m. These are all Central Time, by the way. And then the last match in Monterrey, Sweden versus Tunisia. So you see the stacking. I mean, and some of us, Victor, are match to match to match. I take a little break there to tinkle and to get some food, but we keep going. So man, it's stamina, it's consistency, it's also trying to catch so many different aspects. I know we'll talk more, and maybe not this evening, about coverage, friends. What coverage are you watching? English, Spanish, a combination? Yesterday, Victor and I got into it a little bit about that, but which also commentators are you following more than others? Or frankly, Victor, I've seen many people just say, thank you, I don't need that. I've got my own vibe going on. I don't need to hear their commentary. A quick comment on that, Victor, because I think that's an important part of how we're taking these games and beyond being there live.
Yeah, look, I think, most bars you think have the sound on. So some, like one broadcaster or the other, like you said, some people may be watching it on mute. But, everybody has their own taste, right? I think I mentioned yesterday, I'm not one particular for what Fox is doing, because I think they're so centered on trying to make viral moments for social media. And look, that's part of the game. And if that's the game they want to be in, but I think Telemundo is more of a broadcast that's centered on soccer and covering it like a sport.
Sure.
Even though, like I said, Fox is probably trying to take, at least a pregame appeal that they would with the NFL or the NBA. But, to each his own. They had great ratings for the U.S. game. I think combined more ratings than the NBA Finals and certainly what the NHL has been doing, and no offense to them, but again, I think it just proves the point. This is the dominant sport in the world. This is the number one sport in the world. This is the single biggest sporting event. That's just a single sport tournament, right? Taking out the Olympics and having, just where it's based on just one sport. Yeah, and I think it's only going to continue growing, and it's only going to, the fever is only going to continue to catch on in the United States and Mexico and Canada, and certainly if the host countries do well. Also, um, tomorrow, obviously, the two Texas games, because they're climate controlled stadiums, that's why they're on during the day, and obviously, I imagine the European teams also influence in that. The Monterrey game is going to go viral because of that, that picture with the Cerro de la Silla.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so we'll see a lot of this good stuff, but I think it's only going to continue as the games roll on here in 2026.
Victor, we've got to wrap it up. Friends, if you have questions or comments, first of all, we appreciate all you that are watching us live. Our commitment is to have live coverage like we've had since day one, and we'll do that consistently. By the way, I wanted to update everyone, and those of you that may be watching, whether you're at home, it's a Saturday evening, maybe having a michelada or two, or some other beverages, Australia and
Or
Turkey,
10.
or 10. By now, can you imagine with all the matches? Man,
Yeah.
if I were a drinker, Victor, I don't know if I could be doing the
If
show
you're a
right about
soccer
now.
fan, the dedicated soccer fans, they put in PTO, they put in their vacation time for the whole summer, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Or maybe just quit their job and are dipping into savings.
And breaking news, Victor, by the way, in the 27th minute, Australia has just gone up 1-0 over Turkey. Turkey, forgive me. I want to make sure I get that right and I'm not offending anyone.
Yeah.
That's in Vancouver, beautiful city, by the way. That's a great place to be during the summer. I've been up there during the summer, and it's gorgeous. So Australia up, Victor. That's something that I think many of us kind of expected, but we'll see. We'll see how.
Well, let's see. But I think good news for the United States because particularly with these two teams facing off, I mean, I could decide first place early,
Sure,
potentially, and we'll see if it even has to come down to the game against Turkey in the for the U.S.
Yeah. So, Victor, we're wrapping up, but I think the important thing for many of us who are based out of Houston, and tomorrow evening we'll have coverage as well, friends. Then tomorrow at the conclusion of the last match, we'll be on, but we'll be talking about Germany and Curaçao. Victor, a final word. I think it's an important evening, and certainly tomorrow a huge day for soccer in our city of Houston.
Yeah, big day, not just because of the game going on at Houston Stadium, but I think because you're starting to see more German jerseys around town. You're just starting to see jerseys in general around town. Today I saw a bunch of Brazil, people still wearing Mexico, the U.S., even though they're not playing in these days. I think just to kind of show you're part of it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I got to go up to Bush Airport today, like a family member. You saw the volunteers there guiding the tourists. You saw a lot of people coming into town with different jerseys, Brazil, Germany, Mexico, as I've mentioned. Maybe a little disappointed as to we're not really blowing this out of the water as there was like the one TV there, at the arrivals, the international arrivals at Bush. I don't know if there's, a lot of signage World Cup. I don't know if if you go down to Mexico City, for example, and the first thing you see is a giant, inflatable Dr. Simi and that kind of welcome, right? And I don't know if necessarily when you arrive in Houston, you get the sense that the World Cup is really happening here. And again, we can talk about the organization. I can talk about it because again, I'd like to see us get the full juice out of this and milk it for what it's worth. Because I go back to it. I think it's once in a lifetime. I certainly think in our lifetimes. I mean, you've certainly had a lot of longevity. I don't know if I'll make it to the next one.
I was there. I was there.
We don't even know if there will be.
Yeah. Well, I was there in 1930, so you can just tell my history. No, Victor. Yeah,
but there's no guarantees that there will be a next one, and that's why I think. I mean, 7 games, and I hope people can at least make it out to one of these. And get the experience.
Absolutely. By the way, friends, tomorrow, if you're at the match, take a picture, send it to us via social media. We'll post them here on the wrap up in the evening. We want to make sure, or wherever you're watching it. I may literally be here in the studio watching Victor. We're working on several things, but I'm excited about it, and I'm excited for our community. And I think that piece of it is huge. So, friends, we've got to go. But tomorrow we'll be covering this match and the 3 other matches matches that are going on, will be going on tomorrow. Texas tomorrow hosting 2 matches in Houston and in Arlington. So a very important date. So on behalf of our production staff, on behalf of Don Victor Araiza, I'm Alex
If I
Parra.
could make,
Of course. Yes, sir.
yeah, real quick, tell us your ball because that's
let's
been
go
doing
to the
that
ball.
here. For,
Yeah. Hold on. This is important, Victor. They have to help me here with how I present this. So let me go to the solo shot, if you will, guys. Okay, here we go. So this, Victor, by the way, tricolor, depending on how you want to say it, maybe I need to pronounce it in French, from the 1998 French World Cup.
maybe you need to pronounce it in Italian.
Yeah, I try to pronounce it in Italian.
This is France. This is France.
Yeah, this is France.
Well, you sort of sounded Italian.
I sounded
so
more
why.
Italian than not. But you know what? And as we keep going on, Victor, I think we'll maybe give away some of these to those of you that participate, that want to be part of the love. But we have the entire collection of every ball since the beginning of World Cups until this year's World Cup. So thank you for not forgetting.
I can't
Victor.
wait to see you pull out the 1930 edition.
Yeah, well, that one's a little dusty. What is it? One of those old school leather balls. Exactly. One of those that are so. You know what? I have played with a couple of those leather balls, and it's a completely different. It's a different feel. Let's put it that way. So anyway, Victor, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it. You're amazing, and your input and your knowledge are huge. And at the end of the day, friends, thanks to all of you that take the time to follow us, to be with us. Enjoy the rest of your evening. 1-0 in the 32nd minute. Australia up over Turkey in the first half, the last match of the day. Tomorrow, a full slate of matches, including our coverage here in the evening of the in the Germany versus Curaçao match in Houston. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. Have a great evening. Until tomorrow evening. Good night.